It is September 12th, 2018. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. Today we're going to talk about SmackDown Live and do a little Hell in a Cell preview. With me, as always, on Wednesdays, Justin LaBar. How's it going, man?
It's going well. How are you?
Hell in a Cell is coming up Sunday. You excited?
Yeah, it's Hell in a Cell. How can I not be?
That's normally my attitude.
Despite WWE's lackluster efforts on Monday, how can I not be?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it. I expect so much more for this pay-per-view, at least. You know, I feel like they've done a pretty good job, although maybe this is sort of when it cools off. We've talked about this before. If the idea it's a new season, it's a new year at WrestleMania, and they go into SummerSlam, this is inevitably the cool down period. But I feel like it's been hotter in recent years.
Well, I mean, September is traditionally just a tough month for anything. I mean, you know, you got kids going back to school. Everybody's spent their money on the summertime. Television-wise, you're competing against all the new shows coming back, weekly on major networks. You're dealing with football. You're dealing with getting into the postseason of baseball. I mean, I don't remember if it was who it was that had the report of it, but you know, when all the talk about All In, that was obviously on September 1st. There was some interview or some report that had Vince McMahon's thoughts on it, where he said something like, September 1, it's September, it's hard to do anything in September. I mean, this is a guy who's been a lifelong promoter for 5-6 decades. September's just traditionally just a down month, of the year.
I blame the pumpkin spice.
I do too. I don't get into the whole pumpkin craze. I don't know.
Well, it's not even pumpkin. It's pumpkin spice, the type of spice you use in a pumpkin pie. I'm convinced, though, it lowers testosterone production. There's something there. It's the reason why our entire society just goes to hell in the month of September, and not in a good way, like Hell in a Cell should be. Speaking of which, we opened up last night with Jeff Hardy coming out, and talking about demons, not Finn Balor, not Kane, but Randy Orton. He's going to inflict a load of pain on at Hell in a Cell on Sunday. Oh, my God.
Demons are the most probably consistent and reliable heel in the pro wrestling business. Look at how many guys have had to battle demons.
Yeah. They're popular. That's got to be a Vince McMahon thing. Do you think after Vince McMahon goes, there's some things we're never going to hear referenced again?
I don't think it's a Vince thing. I think it's just become a wrestling culture. I think it's just become a wrestling culture thing that the wrestlers themselves endorse of a way to just generalize and characterize their problems, the range and the different issues of addictions and what have you. So I think it's just become I think the wrestlers and the culture just likes it because they don't have to go into specification of what the problem might be, but they can just simply say demons, and that just kind of covers a whole wide range of the stuff.
Yes. No, in the chat. No, I'm not mocking Jeff Hardy's personal demons. I get it. I get that he can make the comparison. I get he can do all of that. It's just interesting to me in a company where you have two very prominent demon characters that were both on TV recently.
Wait, somebody asked you if you're mocking Jeff Hardy?
In the chat, sometimes we get interesting questions, and I feel sometimes we just need to clarify. But no, in the WWE, there are two prominent demons. So first off, don't even talk about facing a demon in the ring if it's not one of the two of them. Like, don't just be Randy Orton. Man's a serpent, a snake. Randy's got his own thing going on. Demon is not one of them. Stop infringing on gimmicks. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Do something. I don't know. Here's what's weird about this. I'm looking forward to Jeff Hardy in the Cell Sunday against Randy Orton. He could be going Hell in a Cell against a mop. And I'd be looking forward to that because it's Jeff Hardy, first time Hell in a Cell match. This feud does nothing for me.
Yeah, I tend to agree. For all they've tried with Orton's promos that are obviously head and shoulders better than Jeff's, and of course the pulling of the ear thing, which I know strikes a chord with you. For all the attempts they've had, to me it really does boil back down to I'm just looking forward to the bell-to-bell car crash of what Jeff Hardy could do inside of a cell, and then obviously Randy Orton's a veteran in the cell. So yeah, the reason that they're fighting really means nothing to me, but I'll definitely be paying attention to this match for sure. I wonder, was it demons that caused Jeff Hardy to forget the end of his promo and just say, "I'm going to hell. Let's have a good show"? What the hell was that?
It was a weird ending, and that led to a match with Jeff Hardy versus Shinsuke Nakamura, What are they doing with Shinsuke? I'm assuming he shows up and somehow interferes on Sunday, but doesn't it seem weird that the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title not even on the radar as we go into Hell in a Cell on Sunday?
Yeah, and I think maybe this plays into what we talked about before, which is, you got Hell in a Cell this Sunday. You got the Melbourne, Australia show the first weekend of October. Then you got Evolution after that. I mean, it goes back to they got so many things they got to balance and promote and book towards that, it just, I guess it just wasn't in the cards for them to have the two mid-card titles on this show, and maybe it'll be featured more prominently at one of the later shows we have in the next month and a half.
Yeah, I mean, I like the belt being on Shinsuke Nakamura, but we were talking about this Monday. I think they need to get the Intercontinental title off of Seth Rollins if he's going to keep doing the Shield thing so heavily, because it's just completely buried. I mean, it's lost in the shuffle with Seth and Dean and Roman on Raw.
Yeah, I agree, and it makes you wonder that situations like that make me wonder. Okay, how in advance did WWE decide that they were going to have the Shield reunion once they realized when Ambrose was going to be healthy, or how last minute of an audible was it to do what they needed to do to get Braun back to being clear-cut heel?
Yeah, we shall see. What did you think of the match last night with Shinsuke and Jeff Hardy? That Randy Orton came in out of nowhere, and Jeff Hardy got a DQ win.
It was a good match. Again, Jeff Hardy, I mean, he's seldom disappoints. I mean, everything, just from the recklessness, of his body. Shinsuke's very athletic and innovative when it comes to offense. So, I mean, again, these two have fought before, but it hasn't disappointed. But just back to the whole gist of the whole conversation, the title kind of is floating in irrelevance with no real commitment to it. Hardy and Orton's kind of like, all right, well, what are we really fighting about? So it's like enjoying the matches, but the story, not so much.
No, absolutely. So of course, after that, Orton beat up Jeff Hardy. There was a chair. He was slamming the back of his head against the steel steps. I don't recall seeing that. Certainly not in recent memory, that spot. I thought that looked cool. Probably looked much more damaging than it was with the way he was doing it.
Yeah, the WWE's always been a little bit more cautious in the last 5 years about what they do with the head, even whether it be chair shots to the head, or even Seth Rollins' curb stomp was taken away more so because of a visual and a cultural naming thing. But I mean, they're usually pretty protective and monitoring of what kind of head trauma they do with spots. So this did stand out.
Oh, absolutely. They were hyping last night Maurice versus Brie Bella in the main event.
Did you ever think that Maurice would be promoted for a one-on-one match in a main event of one of the weekly live shows?
And I didn't want to mock it last night. I mean, a women's main event on SmackDown, absolutely. But that being Maurice versus Brie Bella, it's like, whoa, yeah,
okay. You can't mock it, mister. You're traveling 3,000 miles
I know.
To get ramp seats at an all-woman show. You have to advocate. You have to advocate for all that they just decide to do, whether you think it's ridiculous or not.
To an extent, but no, look, with The Miz and Daniel Bryan, it all makes sense. It's just, you think about, I mean, come on, the two least likely women to main event SmackDown Live. Yeah, but the match was okay, and we'll talk about that. They really built this up last night, definitely in the involvement of The Miz and Daniel Bryan. They had the interview backstage with The Miz and Maurice. 7 years. 7 years, Maurice's first singles match in the WWE in 7 years. I like how she kept saying she gave birth a few months ago and she can do this. And Daniel Bryan was out for 3 years with head trauma. It was like, okay, just childbirth and head trauma, same thing.
Well, I think the comedy of it's kind of what helps the heel heat of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. AJ Styles promo. AJ sitting ringside like he's going to give you a PSA telling you not to smoke. But instead talking about his relationship with Samoa Joe. And yes, AJ Styles built this house. It's not for rent and damn sure isn't for sale. What did you think of this promo from AJ?
I like the promo. I always like it when they do empty arena stuff. I always like it. I don't know why, whether it's empty, the rare occasion we've seen an empty arena match, or when they do, pre-tape promos like this. It just gives it's just attention grabbing. I guess it's one of those things they don't do. It's not in the rotation of every month we're going to see it, or even every 2 or 3 months. So I guess it stands out to me. So it kind of grabs my attention. The personal level that they have took this feud having the empty arena kind of really gives that that solitude. He's reflecting deep kind of vibe. I don't know. It just worked for me. I like it. I think this is definitely, as we've talked about over and over, obviously it's good to see the depth of the story. I think it's brought out some of the better promos in AJ that again goes away from him just touting how great he is, but it gets personal and it talks about some elements of emotion. So I was all for this. But it's funny you mentioned PSA because I finally did finish the season 2 of Glow not too long ago, so I couldn't help. I felt very PSA. I thought that was going to be. It did have a very PSA feel for a moment to it. So everything was running through my head from teen pregnancy to "Don't Kidnap" songs.
What was the quote that Bash had on commentary? A woman without a mother without a child is just a person.
It's just a person. just a person.
Get him in character and Mauro Ranallo on the same commentary.
Oh panel. My!
I would love to see that. I think the sincerity of what AJ did was okay. I feel like with AJ though, it's hit or miss. I like his look, I like his delivery. The content is okay, but it doesn't always connect. And then you compare it to what Samoa Joe did later in the night, which was A+ all the way. I think that's the problem, is that AJ working with someone who's so flamboyant and over the top, and this just makes AJ seem a little plain.
I guess I could see that argument. I mean, again, you have to remember one's got to be the babyface and just kind of pure, and one's got to be tormented and singing or not singing, but reading a children's book that's got evil intentions. I don't know. I like the different feel for the. Again, let me put it this way: it was better than okay. So the alternative, because since you already have what you're going to get from Samoa Joe later, so the alternative for AJ is either come out in front of a live crowd, which we see by everybody, or go out to the Gene Okerlund position at the ramp and be interviewed. This was just a good, just to keep it fresh. I mean, these guys have been feuding now for 2 months.
Yeah.
So it was just a good way to try to occupy a week and let it be different and not the same.
Yeah, and I mean, impressive that they did it in such one take essentially. SmackDown Women's Championship, or pardon me, SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair faced Sonya Deville in a non-championship match last night, and I think we all knew what was going to happen after. But let's talk about this match with Sonya. I haven't seen Sonya on SmackDown that much since she moved over. What did you think of the match between her and Charlotte?
I'll be honest. I was splitting my attention between something else. I was looking back every so often, but I didn't really get to follow from start to finish this match. So I'll actually have to defer to you. I like Sonya Deville. How did it come off?
It was good. I mean, not the best, but I think they knew what was going to happen after, and that really being the showcase. This was a competent, credible match. I think Sonya looks good. Look, I don't know if creative is ever going to have anything for her. And I say that it's not problem specific to Sonya Deville. I think if you're not Charlotte or Ronda Rousey, there's no guarantee creative is ever going to have anything for you in the near future. But
the bigger issue for Sonya is she has this real fighter MMA gimmick, and you have Ronda Rousey on Raw, who is one of the most decorated MMA fighters, and then you have a guy who, while he might not be with the company, while he might not be a title holder at the moment, he's still synonymous with WWE and Brock Lesnar. So it's like it's kind of like that's, if there was ever the worst time to have an MMA fighter gimmick, it's when WWE has Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey associated with them and holding titles. That
is true. Yeah, it's like when The Rock comes back and Miz tries to play up the movie star thing. Just kind of like, ooh, doesn't work so well.
Well, no, but that does because the Miz is supposed to be this ridiculous, chicken shit heel. So it actually plays off great that it's a parody that he's this A-lister, but he's really straight to DVD. With a real fighter gimmick, unless they want Sonya Deville to claim that she's a real fighter, but she gets beaten with a clothesline. If they're trying to present her as legitimate, it's a very tough thing to do when you have the shadows of Brock and Ronda. More so Ronda, because if we want to be appropriate to gender here, it's just that's a hard thing to. And then I mean it's just I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, they could punk her out that way if they try and make it be like hey Ronda, I'm an MMA fighter as well. Let's have a match, and then she gets destroyed.
Now, if they want to build Sonya up, like if they want to really build her up. And obviously keep her on a separate brand from Ronda, but I mean, you'd have to I mean, last night's not what you want to do. You don't want to put her on TV and have her lose to Charlotte. You'd have to really build Sonya up. I'm talking video packages, make her indestructible for a very lengthy period of time, and build to a collision of her and Ronda to get people to buy in that Sonya Deville is the undiscovered badass, where Ronda Rousey is obviously the box office draw. But we've already seen too many. They've already treated Sonya and booked Sonya just like another female 50-50 booking, so that's probably too late for that.
Yeah, and I could see them doing that with Shayna Baszler on the main roster, giving her the credible MMA fighter push, only to ultimately lose to Ronda if they want to put them in a feud together.
Yeah.
As opposed to allies. So anyhow, bearing the lead, of course, Charlotte won with the figure 4 bridge into the figure 8. Sonya Deville tapped out, and after, Charlotte stopped on the ramp to take a selfie with some fans. That should have been the first sign something was up. They normally don't do that at TV tapings. But from behind, Becky Lynch in a wig and glasses threw Charlotte back, came out, started beating her down. Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, it was again, something you don't see. I mean, it's not the first time this has happened, but you don't see it regularly. It was just well timed. It wasn't, she didn't pander at the crowd too long. It was just quick enough. Like you said, that is it's not something they do on TV. So she did it just quick enough that maybe, okay, she's sneaking one in for this little girl that's ringside. But the attack was good, the disguise was good, everything from the Becky Lynch look. I gotta say, I've really done a 180 from being disgruntled SummerSlam week. This now every week has gotten better and better. I think I can back off my unhappiness, and I'm digging it. I'm digging the aggressiveness of Becky. I like the look, just the badass leather look, and I said last night she's the most badass woman with orange hair since Lilu from The Fifth Element. I'm loving it.
Well, here's the problem, though. Yes, here's the problem. Becky was standing tall at the end of that segment, which leads me to believe Becky is not winning the championship on Sunday at Hell in a Cell.
Well, but that usually is the formula, and that is usually the formula. But I don't think that whatever happens at Hell in a Cell between these two, I don't think it's the end. So that does not.
Oh, it's not. Yeah.
So that's okay. And if it's going to take, quite honestly, I mean, Charlotte just grabbed the title at SummerSlam. I wasn't not expecting her to drop it the next pay-per-view after. But this is going to be a build to something. So it doesn't eliminate Becky from possibility of getting this title before it's all done.
Yeah, they are having a rematch in Australia. Many people are speculating in Evolution. The story will continue. And speaking of stories, Samoa Joe had a bedtime story, a children's book called Night Night AJ, written by Joe, with illustrations. Well, with video footage that was made to look illustrated. But there were words on a page still. Samoa Joe went down to Kinko's, laid this out, chose his fonts, did the print, had it bound in a nice leather book. This was so goddamn elaborate. I absolutely loved everything about this, that someone in creative said, and we could just have Samoa Joe sit down and do this. We could just make a cover and have him show you the cover and read from that. But oh no, we're actually going to write it down and make a full-on video package of this. He's going to be the new husband to AJ's wife, the new father to his children. This is so over the top. It is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I am not the leading man to hire as the biographer of Samoa Joe's career. I watched him in Ring of Honor, I've watched him in TNA, but by no means can I recite his history, as I'm sure some of our other viewers might be able to. But here's what I can still gather is that Samoa Joe, look, a badass, a good wrestler, a badass look, has carried his name with him all around the world. He didn't have to change his name. That was a big deal. But he was a guy who was a really good. He was a good wrestler, and he had the aura, and he had the reputation of the guy can work tough. He can he can be stiff if he needs to be. He can hang in there with a Brock Lesnar, as we even saw on that brief occasion last year. But it's one of those things where you can do all that stuff, but when you come to WWE, it is over the top. It is entertainment. It is sometimes stuff that you're like, take a guy out of his comfort zone. And I don't know if Samoa Joe thought when he came to NXT or came to Raw and SmackDown, if he ever thought he'd be doing a segment like this, or if he'd feel comfortable doing it. But he did it. It got over. It worked. It fits with the story. And this is good. This is the kind of stuff that, I think Samoa Joe fans want to hear this. And what I'm about to say is this is the kind of stuff that further endears himself to Vince and to that kind of management, which is he's willing to be given this idea and willing to be given fonts and illustrations of the book and own it and take it to the fullest, rather than saying, oh, well, I don't do that. I just go out and punch people. I mean, this is good. I think this was a good thing for Joe, not only for the story, but for Joe as a person and a worker there.
I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but Joe, the cherry on top of this was he tweeted, maybe he'll submit it for a Caldecott Award. Which is,
did he really?
Yes.
That's good. See, that's what I mean. Own it. Take it to the fullest. Take it to the fullest.
That's deep. It's like Joe clearly. Do they even still do the Caldecott Award? I remember that from like grade school.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I know
call Raj and ask him.
Yeah. I know they changed the name of the one that was named after Laura Ingalls Wilder. They changed that recently. I can't remember what it was, but they changed that. I don't know. Children's literature. I guess if you're an adult reading young adult books, does it still make it a young adult book? Isn't it adult fiction? Who knows?
Ask the people in our chat. See if any of them are children's literature experts.
Well, nowadays with the Hunger Games, with Divergent, The Maze Runner, like all of these, even Harry Potter, technically it's young adult fiction, but adults read them as well. Do you read a lot, Justin?
I'm a big there's two genres. I'm big on biographies. I love biographies in books or on television. I love people's story, not just wrestlers, but just people's stories. Just people of note in their stories. I like biographies, and I'm really big with certain historical topics. Like I am fascinated with John Wilkes Booth and the whole assassination of Lincoln. But then there's a big belief that Wilkes Booth did not die a few days later, as the history would show. So things like that. Napoleon. Just
moved to London, became Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, biographies and history.
Yeah. See, I saw Hamilton, fell in love with the Hamilton soundtrack, bought Ron Chernow's book, made it about halfway through the foreword, and was like, I'm not going to be able to read this. This is far too dry. Where's all the rapping? Anyhow.
Any answer on that Caldecott thing?
Okay. I'm just like, stay on topic, guys. It's Hell in a Cell. I mean, actually, wouldn't that be great? Oh, talk about a show on the WWE network. I want to know, or just a feature on the website. I want to know the books on tape and the podcasts that wrestlers are listening to when they travel. That would be fascinating to know.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they tweet about it sometimes, but I'm always interested in that stuff. Anyhow, Becky Lynch interviewed backstage, still going to break Charlotte's arm on Sunday. Number one contenders match, The Bar versus Rusev Day, determining who is going to face the New Day for the SmackDown Championship Sunday at Hell in a Cell. What'd you think of this match?
Good match. I have to say that I was starting to think The Bar was going to win this, just to kind of push, The Bar and New Day and the more traditional heel and face. But I'm happy to see Rusev Day. As I said, when you get a title, that means investment. So they haven't got the titles yet, but this is a good sign for them. What's going on? So looking forward to it. And speaking of Sheamus, for anybody who's in the Pittsburgh area, you might want to check out my podcast, Wrestling Realities. I might have VIP passes for you next Wednesday, the opportunity to win VIP passes to go and meet Sheamus at a meet and greet here in Pittsburgh on September 22nd.
Well, you can ask him what the cricket wireless ball is like in real life.
We can do that too.
Yes. Remember, actually, it's nice to see Sheamus in commercials still, because for a while he was in everything because of his look. He was just getting pimped out for all of their stuff. You know what?
He and I hosted a post SummerSlam party in New York City and Brooklyn a couple years ago after SummerSlam, and I've spent some other time around the dude. I'm glad that he's gotten to do this stuff, because he is actually he's one of the more truly charismatic and entertaining guys that WWE has, and you don't necessarily you wouldn't always necessarily put him in that same category with The Miz and other people that might naturally come to mind when I say charismatic. Just because some of his time in WWE has been, mean, stiff Irish guy with red hair. He's got so much personality. So I'm always thrilled whenever they work him into endorsements, because I got to think, if you're an exec for whatever company that's, dealing with, okay, who of WWE are you guys going to, which character are you going to have help endorse? I got to think that when the first time they see Sheamus in the audition tapes or see Sheamus do these takes, I got to imagine they're thrilled, because he's just such a funny guy, and if you get him going.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of funny how WWE has backed off him a lot and showing his character on TV. I mean, with The Bar, they've barely done anything since they've been on SmackDown, and that was shortly after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So I thought the Bar was going to win this last night, but Rusev got it with the Machka kick on Sheamus, got him the pin, and Rusev Day is facing the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship Sunday on Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I know we'll make predictions, I'm sure, here soon. Again, it feels pretty good for Rusev Day, and you got to keep in mind the New Day being champions again. I don't think that was a long-term plan. I think that was just simply product of Rowan's injury and having to take the title off of Rowan Harper.
Yeah, definitely a good transition there, though. R-Truth versus Andrade Cien Almas. R-Truth accompanied by Carmella, Andrade with Zelina Vega. And Andrade won this match last night, but this was competitive. I mean, I thought both guys looked really good. Truth is keeping it going, man.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the themes we can find is each week that WWE has now got a commitment at the moment to both Almas and Truth of making them be credible, even if they're not winning the matches that they're in. They're losing to credible guys in competitive fashion. So interesting to have the two paired, given again the previous week's track record that we've talked about with both of them.
No, absolutely. Speaking of pairings, backstage, Asuka and Naomi, they're keeping that going. What'd you make of this promo?
I don't really have much words for it. I'm not quite sure what I don't know. I don't have an answer for this one. I fail on analyst at this moment. I walked out of the room. I walked back in the room right at the tail end. I hit rewind to catch back up to it, and I watched it. And I said, "All right, that was confusing to me."
You think women's tag titles still in the picture for maybe closer to Evolution?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Asuka and Naomi.
Maybe. I mean, they, again, from a visual standpoint, they
absolutely
they work. They work. They're both colorful and intense, in a very beautiful, fun way. But that doesn't necessarily mean the promos are going to be gold. I guess I don't know.
You know what it's like? I remember seeing this thread on Reddit once about what was the grossest thing you ever ate. And of course, you can imagine what a lot of people said. But one guy, his response was, one time I was thinking, I love Doritos and I love Mountain Dew. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put Doritos in a bowl and put Mountain Dew on it and eat it like cereal. And he found that those two great tastes, while fantastic individually, did not go great together. I feel like Asuka and Naomi might be Doritos and Mountain Dew.
That was deep, Glenn.
But I always think of that.
Out of curiosity, when he started this and he said that some people said, you alluded to, I should know the answer to what the grossest thing some people ate is, but I don't know if I know that answer. I
mean, just imagine insects. Just imagine like something you realized was rotting.
I thought there was like one particular thing that I was supposed to know.
Oh, no. I'm just saying you could imagine the variety in a thread like that. Probably 90% of the responses were kind of like, okay, yeah, well, that's gross. But for some reason, it stuck with me that comparison of sometimes two things you love just do not mix well together. And I'm afraid with Asuka and Naomi, that's going to be the case.
Who's the Mountain Dew and who's the Dorito?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'll have to think on that a bit. A little philosophical.
I want your answer by the end of the podcast, please.
I think Asuka's the Mountain Dew in this situation.
See, I was going to say Naomi's the Mountain Dew.
Oh. See? Agree to disagree, as Raj Giri is so fond of saying. But no, I think their chemistry could be there. It could get better in the ring. It could get better with the promos. I just thought this last night was not the best kickoff. Like when Goldust would form a tag team with someone, there would always be that vignette at the beginning, and more often than not, it hit than it missed. Of the like, let's pair up and be a team together. I did not feel like this was that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. But there's potential. And yeah, like I said, both great in the ring. Let's see what their chemistry is in the ring together, tagging. And them versus the Iconics. Hey, that could be all right. Brie Bella versus Maurice in the main event last night. Brie accompanied by Daniel Bryan, Maurice accompanied by The Miz. I thought this match was okay.
Well, they made I'm using air quotes here for those listening to the audio only of this. They did the match for exactly what it needed to be. I mean, you can't expect these two, more so because of Maurice, and that's just because she has far less in-ring experience and repetition doing this. You can't expect these two to like put on like an 8-9 minute like really solid one-on-one, like, you know, reversals or anything like that. I mean, this match needs to be, first off, this match for that reason needs to be a lot more just simple stuff. It's simple, just meaning hard punches, throwing somebody into stuff, just, you know, very basic. I tend to use the word hardcore, even though it's not necessarily hardcore in the ECW sense, but just a very easy grudge match kind of stuff. You need to do it for the protection of those two to kill the time. You also need to do it because that's where the emotion of this feud has gotten to. They shouldn't be waiting around to do wrist locks and reversals. This needs to be just a fight feel of throwing each other into stuff. So I thought the match was laid out very well. Whoever the producers and agents of the match were, obviously hats off to them. I thought that was done well, and obviously getting the guys involved, well timed. You have to do that as well. So I think all in all, this is the match that I would pick to be. This is the feud and match that I would pick prior to SmackDown that needs to end the show before the go home. Yes, I know people are big about title matches, and we got a couple segments promoting the title match of AJ and Samoa Joe, but this has really got the most emotion, and it's got the most traction, and obviously it's got the most history with a couple years of build that Miz and Daniel Bryan have had. So I thought this was done well.
Yeah, Miz pulled Brie out of the ring, so technically Brie won by DQ, but after shenanigans, and Daniel Bryan and Brie were standing tall, chasing off the Miz and Maurice, which leads me to believe maybe the Miz and Maurice are winning on Sunday.
It's possible. Again, you know, I don't think this is the end. So back to the same thing with Becky and Charlotte. You know, this could very easily just be another chapter. Yeah.
All in all, I thought this was an okay episode of SmackDown. Solid. There's some good spots, great wrestling. Loved what Samoa Joe did. I think if anything, though, it's just Hell in a Cell. What do we have? 8 announced matches for Hell in a Cell on Sunday?
Sounds about right.
So look at the card and give a quick rundown of that. Yeah, 8 matches announced. That seems not that many, but granted, SummerSlam, had like 13 when all was said and done?
I mean, SummerSlam was longer. You know, plus, I mean, you know, you always in a show when you're going to have a gimmick match like Hell in a Cell, multiple of them, you definitely want to leave some pad of time.
Yeah. Okay, so Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella versus the Miz and Maurice. How do you think this goes?
You know, I'm a big proponent of WrestleRumble.com, where you can win up to $500 predicting the winners of these pay-per-views. And this is one of the hardest ones actually to pick because I could really see a true either way. I'm gonna lean toward, and this could be the difference in if you're playing WrestleRumble in the points. I'm gonna go with the Miz. I'm gonna go with the Miz and Maurice. I'm just following that whole thing about the heel win, let the baby faces keep chasing redemption. I just think that I just can't see Bryan and Brie winning and then that just being it. I just feel like there's just more to tackle with this.
Yeah. I like the idea of Miz and Maurice winning. I think Daniel Bryan, you want that moment. I don't know if they're going to be able to drag this out to Mania, but Survivor Series, maybe.
I mean, who knows? You know, again, we've mentioned the amount of mixed tags that are forming just on SmackDown. You know, so you know, you could even get to Survivor Series and have a fun mixed tag 8-person deal if you wanted.
Tag.
Well, you could. I mean, you could have Rusev, Lana, Bryan, and Brie versus Vega, Almas, Miz, and Maurice.
Did you see Mixed Match Challenge? The finals are going to like TLC in December or something absurd like that.
Oh, really? No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, like it is going on a long time this year. It's going to be a round robin tournament. I don't obviously not single elimination, and there's going to be 2 matches each episode instead of 1 like last year.
Oh,
yeah, we'll see. So yeah, I was like, they love the mixed tag now, though. It's a thing.
Well, but again, if it's not really costing them an expense, they're doing it right there where they're already set up for TV. It's an extra whatever half hour. I mean, you know,
and it was fun. It was fun last year or earlier this year.
Get some social media numbers. They sell a sponsorship too. I mean, I get it from a business standpoint. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything. And again, it pushes more to female talent.
No, absolutely. Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose for the Raw Tag Team Championships.
Dolph and Drew.
Do you think, well, I mean, we'll talk about this. See, I think one faction is going to have all the belts at the end of Hell in a Cell.
Well, I mean, that would be, I mean, you would think it would actually be the heel faction because they're trying to tout this new heel faction of Braun, Drew, and Dolph to be so powerful. So I don't see Dolph and Drew, after having just gained them, dropping them back dropping them. So, I mean, which that would bode well for me as a Braun Strowman fan, which we'll get to. But I'm going to say, no matter what, Drew and Dolph.
Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton, the Hell in a Cell match.
Jeff Hardy.
And I think Hardy should have this, but man, I just hope it doesn't go right back to feuding with Shinsuke. I feel they gotta liven this up a little bit. It's just, getting a little stale. We talked about it earlier, but the New Day versus Rusev Day, you think this is Rusev Day's time to finally win it for the tag team championships?
I'm going to say yes. Again, the New Day only has the titles because they were the easy, reliable option that the WWE needed to make a quick decision on once Rowan got hurt. So I feel like, I feel like this absolutely WWE seems to have found some commitment towards Rusev Day. So give them the titles. It's not going to harm New Day. It's a rare, actually, babyface situation that WWE is letting happen. I'm going to say the investment's there for Rusev Day.
6 months too late, but yeah.
Well, I don't. If the people are still cheering the way they are, it's not too late.
Yeah, that's true. They're hot. They're a hot team with Lana. They've done a great job with it. Yeah, I would love to see Rusev Day get this at Hell in a Cell. The SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch.
I'm going to go Charlotte, but certainly not the end of this.
Yeah, I would love to see Becky win, but maybe Evolution. Maybe that's how the stars are aligning. I'll fly to New York. I'll go to the show. Becky Lynch wins her title there.
I hope, for your sake, for yours and my sake, I hope so.
Yes. Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship.
Oh, Ronda Rousey. I don't even know. Just from now on, I'll just pick Ronda. I can't even realistically think about when she would actually lose the title and who would actually beat her for the title right now in WWE.
That's what I'm saying. What are the betting odds on that? Like, just put $1 on Alexa just cause, Yeah,
I mean, I could see. I could. It's not a far stretch for me to say that Rousey absolutely is walking in and out of WrestleMania, and that's 6 months away as champion.
Yeah. You always think she's going to walk out of WrestleMania as champion, not Charlotte.
Yeah, well, we don't have any guarantee that they're going to fight each other, but I mean, I think Ronda Rousey, barring, based upon what we know right this moment, I say that. Obviously, if an injury happens or something else happens, that changes the situation. But I think right now, knowing what we know, I have a hard time even foreseeing when the hell she would lose it.
Yeah. AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe for the SmackDown singles, for the WWE Championship title.
Kind of a Ronda Rousey situation. I don't know when I see AJ Styles losing it, so I'm going to say AJ Styles.
I want it to be Joe so bad at this point. And then he gets to take over AJ's life.
I mean, if that was the plan, I'd be all for it just to see what they come up with. But
in a smoking jacket, hanging out with Wendy and the kids.
He did again. The smoking jacket. What is with what is with what? Why do you want to see the Samoan Hugh Hefner walking around with this man's family? What is your obsession with this?
Because go all the way with it, man. I mean, he just wrote a children's book, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, how much further does he need to go? Go all the way.
I want the Pillman Austin confrontation.
All right.
Well. Actually, if Samoa Joe loses, I think that's more likely to happen. I think that's what happens on SmackDown is that, after the match, we get a vignette of AJ coming home to find Samoa Joe already there, sitting in his lazy boy, smoking jacket on, asking Wendy to go, make him a martini dry, while Samoa Joe reads to the kids.
Maybe they should really dive into something that was done this time of year back in 90, would have been 97, I guess it would have been. Talking about Pillman, but Pillman and Goldust, where Joe fights Styles. But if Styles loses, Joe gets Wendy for 30 days. Because I think Pillman did that with Terry Runnels. Let's go that way.
I bet you something like that was Vince pitched that. And people had to explain to Vince why in the year 2018, that's not going to fly.
Oh, it's nonsense. It could fly.
We shall see. Man. Love this feud. Don't want this feud to end. Well, it's not going to end because they're going to have another match in Australia. So, yeah, this should be good. But the big one, the big dog versus the monster. With his Money in the Bank cash-in, Braun Strowman challenging Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship with Mick Foley as special guest referee.
I mean, if I'm trying to go for accuracy, if I'm trying to win, get some points and win some money on Wrestle Rumble, I don't like. as big of a Braun fan as I am, I'm picking Roman just out of, if you're asking me truly who I think is going to win. I love your idea of having one faction have all the titles once you leave, and momentum's there for the new heel faction. I guess it goes back. Well, then part of me is like, it goes back to the thing of, they just gave it finally to Roman, so would they have him drop it this quickly to Braun? But at the same point, I guess I have to take in a factor that Roman got it because they wanted him to be the one to beat Brock. I don't know. Does Vince want Braun as champion, but he only wanted Braun as a clear-cut heel as champion? And that's why he had to do. I mean, I don't know. Just everything. There's just too many muddled factors. Unfortunately, I can't see Roman losing this.
Yeah, the way that I like to bet on anything WWE when I'm making predictions, if I want to be accurate and not just going for my hopes and dreams, I go with what would the most disappointing outcome be for me? What would the most stereotypical, boring sort of, oh, well, of course it went that way. If I think with that head, with that mindset, I think that's the way to do it. And I'm pleasantly surprised if it goes the other way.
Yeah, you're dealing with a beast that is a Hell in a Cell, so it just seems like it's a scenario of, Roman finds a way to still be champion, but again, there was a way to protect Braun, and him losing, he falls. I don't know what they do, but it seems like that's what it would be. But it would be a tremendous and pleasant surprise. Now you said to me earlier about Rusev Day 6 months too late. I then debate, okay, if Braun wins it, but he wins it as they're trying to paint him as granted, he traditionally is what a heel should be in terms of his size and everything, but he had such an organic connection with the crowd.
Oh yeah.
To me, I would wonder, okay, was this 6 months too late giving it to him right after he now decided to make him, or trying to book him as a full-fledged heel? So
it's a year too late for Braun. I mean, it's over a year too late.
You make it 2 years, a year and a half. But again, if I'm picking for betting purposes, I'm going to say Roman.
Well, here's what I think. And this goes into why one faction is going to have all the belts in my mind. Because it's Super Showdown, or at the Saudi Arabia show. Super Showdown, they announced 6-man tag. I think they had some stupid stipulation, like all the titles are on the line, and like a house show, they don't change hands, but they use that stip to build up interest in that 6-man tag for the Super Show.
That's a worthwhile pitch to be at the creative table. All right.
Yeah, I just see something like that happening, or else why do I care about a 3-on-3 match with these guys?
Yeah, all right, I'll give you that one.
Man, there's too much going on right now. They have too much programming.
But it's hard to complain about that because you get it all for $9.99.
But I want it to be good. It's like, okay, so I'm watching the new season of Iron Fist on Netflix. You watch the Marvel shows on Netflix?
Nope.
Okay, well, this year they cut it back to 10 episodes. Usually it's 13. I'm watching and thinking, you know what? They could do this in a tight 6, and I'd be a lot more invested in it. Instead, I'm just sitting here waiting for something to happen in half the time.
I mean, they see the value, obviously, per the $1 billion deal that's coming with Fox. I mean, they see value and be able to pump out a high volume of programming. And of course, the result is that's a lot of programming to keep fresh and to keep consistent and keep good. So it does let the quality suffer, but they still, even with wrestling ratings being, at some of its lowest point, they still have more people tuning in to watch than most other things on cable. So they're able to get the money they need to get for it. So as long as that master is being served, I don't see any change.
I just think you got to find a way to make it interesting if you're going to drag it out. Show we reference on Monday nights that's on opposite Raw, Better Call Saul on AMC. That's a prequel, for Christ's sakes. I know how this ends. And it's riveting because they find ways to make it interesting, even in the tiniest nuance. And I think with WWE, there's a lot of sort of like, let them figure it out in the ring. We got one story beat. We can drag this out for a month.
I've said it before. I think there's just too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. The stock price all-time high. Keeps doing well. Could have bought it. Think about what it was 3 years ago. This time, 3 years ago it was at 20, but 3.5 years ago,
$9.
Yeah, it was. I could have bought it at 15. Remember thinking I should buy it at 15. And at 20, I was kicking myself. Now.
You're too late now. You think Rusev Day 6 months too late. You're 3 years too late.
But that would be a good angle, though. And you never hear people that talk about this business ever mention that. You know, yourself, the other writers and podcasters out there, you never hear them saying, "Oh yeah, well, I own a WWE stock," not because of journalistic conflict or interest, but because we all have no money and can't afford to buy WWE stock. But the upside would be that, well, creative sucks and they're dragging this out, but hey, I'm at least getting paid because whatever this banal crap is clearly working.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I'm just saying I want there to be an upside. That's all I'm asking. Just a little upside. WWE wants to gift me some shares. At least I'll feel like, okay, well, now I'm personally invested.
I bet you Raj has stock. I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe after the XFL, you know. No. Was that before they were public? That was around the time they were public.
They went public in 99. XFL was...
Yeah, XFL was 2000.
2000, yeah.
Yeah.
They went public October of 99. They went public.
You heard anything more about the XFL? I feel like
they're supposed to be announcing the team locations this fall.
Okay, there we go.
Like soon.
Please, Vince, spend all your time on the XFL.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Okay, what do you want to plug before we take this home here?
Podcasts. Find all my stuff I do. Podcast Chair Shot on @Justin LaBar. And again, I say WrestleRumble.com. It's a ton of fun. If you think this is a boring or predictable show, make that much more enjoyable to watch by doing WrestleRumble.com, competing against me and hundreds of others by making your predictions. Each prediction is worth a certain amount of points. Those who have the top points get up to $500, and then the rest of the prize money is listed on their website, WrestleRumble.com.
Nice. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. You can find me on Twitter @Glenn Rubenstein. Please give me a follow. I will be live tweeting along with Hell in a Cell all Sunday night, and then immediately after the show ends, myself, Matt Morgan, Raj Giri, going to break it down, talk about Hell in a Cell, what we thought. And Blue Chew's back as a sponsor again on Sunday night. So that'll be fun. Maybe I'll have to take another one on the air. We'll see what happens. Although, you know, to take that and then have to be around Matt Morgan for half an hour is just tempting fate. Anyhow, guys, I'm Glenn Rubenstein. We'll see you back here next time.
Wait, isn't Matt Morgan's, isn't his town called Longwood?
Oh, there you go. Yes, if you too want to be the commissioner of Longwood,
Blue Chew.
I'm going to write that down. Promo code INC. Try it free.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that, Mr. LaBar. Until next time, folks, we'll see you back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.